Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, can I ask a favor of you?
Yes, you may, sir.
Can you minimize that Teams thing and go to the IDE? Can you click on Tools, Options, and then go to the user interface and go to the editor? Yeah, and can you see where you can increase your font?
Okay. Let's see. Editor. Source. Where is it? Some okay display there.
Yeah, go to display if you don't find it there. Yeah.
Which one is better, 16 or what?
Yeah, 16 is fine.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Are you the guy with the spectacles?
Say I'm not the guy with the spectacles.
Sorry.
Oh, you mean from yesterday?
Yeah.
That's me. Yeah, but I'm not using them now. I'm going to increase the font, so it's fine.
Okay. All right. Sorry. All right. So from yesterday, I hope the recording is up. It should be up. Great. From yesterday's content, any challenges, any problems, anything that you want me to just touch up on before we go to another control?
So we have some few concerns.
Yeah.
We're coming from 111, so there's this thing where we used to do where it's called see out. So what I want to know is it see out the same thing as the way we did it in 111, or is it different?
It's different. Remember, see out deals with a console, again, your output to the console. Right now we have a user interface. We do not have a console, so see out cannot work for us. Rather, if you want to display a message to the user, we are going to use a function called show message. If I can just quickly open here, there's a function called show message, which will take the string that you want to display to the user. So this may be a replacement of cout. So the reason why we are not constantly using cout is we have the controls on the form. And these controls, some of them, they help us to display information to the user. Does that make any sense? I greatly remember in 111, when you want to display something to the user, you will say cout.
Yeah. So what about if the user wants to enter something?
Yeah, that's the concept that we are going to get into this session.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So before we get into that, any questions from previous session? You're always welcome to type it in the chat. Mashapu, your hand is up. You can always ask. I can't see if I minimize this.
Mr. Lando.
Yes.
In the previous class, you mentioned the caption being a setter and a getter.
Yes.
So now my question is, the text property of a T-edit, is it a setter and a getter also?
Also, yes, ma'am.
Also, another question is, what do you use the hashtag include color.h for?
There's no such thing. I was just tricking you in the web test.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I think we can now get into today's concepts. And today we are going to be doing a T-edit. If I can just press F1 quickly so that we can see what it is. Okay. So a T-edit is a wrapper for Windows single line edit control. Very important. Okay. Single line. So this is an object or a control that we are going to use to either let the user type inside it or display something to the user, hence the get and the set part. So a T-edit basically is just a box where it will contain a string either entered by the user or a string displayed to the user. So for example, let's have our T-edit there. I'm going to shortcut, I want to give it a name, so I'm going to use my shortcut. Instead of going to the object inspector, I'm going to right click on this, and then I'm going to use the quick edit. So when I use the quick edit, it gives me the important properties that I need to set for my edit. So I'll say the name of this thing will be edit sentence or whatever. And then I will say the text inside it. Please pay attention to this text. Again, the text inside it, I want it to be empty. So upon pressing enter, then the changes are made. So you can see it is now called EDT sentence, and inside it has no value, meaning in the text property there is nothing assigned to it. So if we want something, or if we want a text to appear inside, obviously we have to use the text property to either get the text from it or to put the text inside. Next thing, I'm also going to just have a button. And then as well, I'm going to give this a name. I'll say button display, something like that. Button display. I'll say the caption of this button is display. Just to ask you again, I know you might have seen this in the web test. Are you able to change the color of a button?
It's false,
Yeah.
sir. You can.
So please increase the font or zoom the screen a bit. We still have a problem. Oh, but it's design, eh? So it's design. Let me just quickly zoom in. It's design. That's why some are still can see. So we have a T-edit. I'll start from the top. We have a T-edit. And then I said a T-edit is a control that will either take a single line of text and display it to the user, or allow the user to enter a single line of text. That single line is very important. Again, this means we cannot have multiple lines inside this guy. We cannot. This can only take a single line. And then I went as well to include my button there. And then also I am going to introduce you to a T label. So I'm going to place it there. This label is going to display anything that will come from the text box. So I'm going to increase it just so that it's a little bit bigger. I'm going to click on the font property, and then I'm going to increase the font of that label to 14. So it's okay. And then I also want to change its name. I will call it label display sentence, and then that is fine. Now, before I even go to encode for my button, let us go and examine the events that can happen via this T-edit. So we go to the object inspector, and then the events tab, and then these are all the events that can be raised via the T-edit. So let's go on the important ones. On click, obviously, we can say when we click this T-edit, something must happen, which is a rare case. Again, you will never come across that. And then we have this guy, on change. On change. Now, this event will mean if any text changes within this T-edit, then an event should fire. So if I can just quickly demonstrate to you how an on-change event works. If we go to our browser or any app that can allow you to search. So as soon as I start typing something, for example, let me say YouTube. As soon as I start doing this, you see some results pop up. These results are reacting to the text that changes within this search bar. That is the on change event. Whatever you type creates a reaction. You see, whatever you type creates a reaction. So this event is called the on change, meaning whenever a text changes within this T-edit, something must happen. In this case of the search bar, they said, whenever a text changes in here, let us go and filter the results according to the word which was typed in the search bar. Did we all get that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm also going to show you another important event which was actually used in, I think it was practice 1 or tutorial 1. There is an event called on enter as well as on exit. So the on enter event will say when the user starts clicking on this box and they are getting ready to type, then this is the event that gets fired. This is the event that gets raised. When the user is preparing to type by getting inside the T-edit, then the on enter event shoots. There's also an on exit event, which occurs when the user has finished typing and they leave this text box by clicking on any other control on the form. It means now the focus has left the T-edit and it has went to some place. So when we leave this T-edit, the event called on exit executes. This one. I think it was on practice 1 to say when you exit the T-edit of, I think it was first name or last name, then it should automatically generate an email of a staff. This was the event that was used. Okay, great. So I said we have a label. Where is my label? Is it this one? Okay, we have a label as well. So the purpose of this simple application is we are going to run it and then give chance to the user to enter something in here, and then when we press display, it should be able to display whatever the user has entered on this label. So let's go ahead and start coding for that. So for now, let's start with a simple event of a button for when we click our button. Let's go there. And then when we click our button, the first thing that we need to do is to take the text that was typed inside that box. Again, we want to say when we press this button, first thing first, take the text which was entered inside that box by the user and save it into our local variable. So anything that comes from the form or anything that goes to the form will always be of type string. I think it was there in your web test. So I'm going to declare a string variable there. I'm going to call it sentence. I'm going to call it sentence. So now I want to take the sentence coming from my T-edit, and I want to save it inside my variable. I think I can now stop with the zooming, and then let's go. So I'm going to say from a T-edit called EDT sentence. Remember the name. If you're not sure of the name, always go to the header file and double check the name. You can actually just copy that and bring it this side. So we are saying from this T-edit, we want what is inside it, meaning we want the text that is within this T-edit. Now, as you can see, I've just blatantly wrote it like that. So I want to ask you something here. When we want to get something from this T-edit, should we now use our expression, by expression I mean the highlighted code, as a getter or a setter? We want to retrieve something from that box. Are we setting or are we getting?
We are getting.
We are getting.
We are getting, correct. Now, if we are getting from a control, it means the highlighted expression always has to be on the right-hand side of our equation. Speed before So as I was saying, if we want to get something from a control, this expression will always have to be on the right-hand side of our equation. Therefore, the equal sign will come there. And then on the left-hand side, we are going to have something that will store whatever that we will be getting from that control. And then the complete line will be sentence is equals to get a text from edit sentence control. Are we fine? Questions? Questions? No questions?
So far, so good, sir.
So far, so good. All right, thank you, sir. Great. Now that we have the text entered by the user stored inside a local variable called sentence, we can now do whatever we want with this sentence. We can either manipulate it, we can break it down, but that's a story for another day, I guess. For now, let us now take this sentence and send it to a label which I placed somewhere around here. Let us now take that sentence and display it on a label. So first I need to know the name of my label, which is label display sentence. And then to display something on a label, do we use the text property?
No.
We use the
Caption.
We use the caption property. I get it. Now, right now, are we trying to get from this label or are we trying to set to this label?
We are setting.
We are setting. Now, when we are setting, this expression has to be on the left-hand side. Therefore, we now have something like this. We still good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Great. Now it's time for us to actually run our application. And before I run, obviously I have to save my files. So I will say save. We have a folder called Ketchups. And then today we'll say session 2 project. And then we are going to save our files there. So I'll say session 2 unit, session 2 project, what, okay, PCH. And then lastly, I will say session 2 project. Then my files will be successfully saved. So now we can go ahead and run our application. Why are we getting this box here? Anyone, why are we getting this thing here? What is this thing?
It is a show message.
Thank
on
you.
the
It's because of
construct.
thank you. It's because of this show message in the construct. This further proves what we were talking about yesterday, ne? To say whenever this gets declared like that, the constructor gets called, meaning this is the first method that gets executed whenever we run our application. So on HIV, I can't dismiss it. HIV, let me just comment this. It's going to disturb us. So now this is our form, right? So we are going to enter just a simple sentence. Hello, I am doing TPG201T. And then when we press display, it's supposed to take all the text and display it there. Are we okay with that?
Yes, sir.
This is basics, ne? Oh, sorry. Let me not say that, because what is basic to someone else may not be basic to another. So this is what our objective is. We allow the user to enter something, and then when we press there, it gets displayed there. But now, what if now I say to you, we want to display something to the user, but using this gedit. So we can allow the user to enter something, it's fine. We can take it and display it there on our label. But at the same time, we also want to display another message to the user using this gedit. How are we going to do that? We just want to display anything to the user via this gedit and not via this label. Is it possible to do that?
The question again,
okay.
sir?
Yeah?
That's the question.
Is it possible for us to say, after we have displayed something to the user, like that, is it possible for us to say, if this was displayed via a label, can we now send another message to the user, but that message should come inside this gedit?
Yes, it's possible.
All right. So let's go ahead and let's maybe take it a little bit further. Ne? Let's say inside this sentence entered by the user, let us say now we want to count. I'm just taking it a little bit further because I see it's just boring now. Let's say we want to count the number of vowels within this sentence entered by the user. So let's now go ahead and say, first we need to understand what an ANSI string is. So for those who are coming directly from TPG201, again, I'm going to say this for now so that I can remove all the confusion. An ANSI string is the same as our string object that we used to use in 111. Is that fine?
Not really, sir. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is an ANSI string also initialized to nothing by default, or you have to initialize it yourself?
Nothing, you mean this?
Yes.
No, when you do this, nothing is initialized. This is just created.
Okay, so that means I'm not allowed to say, maybe after declaring the ANSI string, I'm not allowed to say sentence is equal to sentence plus something else.
You can't. What is it building on? What is it building on?
I saw this on the web test actually. Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Before you can it goes with all data types like integers and whatnot. Before you can accumulate on a variable, your variable must have a starting point. Ne? So as for a string, if we want to build our string has to start somewhere. Meaning it can start as an empty string like that. Okay. So
Okay.
for those who hate these double quotes like myself, there is a global variable that helps you to initialize your string to an empty string. There is a variable called, I think it's empty ANSI string. This one. Okay. This is a global variable and it is equivalent to when we just say double quotes. I mean, for those who want to avoid the double quotes thing, but it's not wrong to do double quotes. Ne? There's a global variable called empty ANSI string. You can always use it to initialize your ANSI string object. Great. So now, as I was saying, to count the vowels, you need to understand what an ANSI string is. And I've just said an ANSI string, just take it. Hey, I hate my voice. Yo. Okay. So just take an ANSI string the same way as you will take your string object. Ne? But here's the difference. The strings in C++ 111, I'll call it that. The strings in C++ 111, the first character inside that string is actually sitting on index 0. And maybe just to backtrack a little bit before I even talk about an index, let's speak in plain English. I get what makes a word or what makes a string in plain English. If we say we have a string called, let's say we have a string called hello, ne? What made up this string?
Characters.
Characters. Therefore, whenever you have a string, you basically have an array of characters. Please do not forget this in your entire life, because this concept will play very crucial in this subject. As long as you have a string, you basically have an array of characters. Now let's decode this English. When they say an array of characters, they mean on your string variable, you can treat it like it is an array of individual characters. Meaning, whenever you say at sentence at index 1, you are referring to a particular character within that string. Is this clear, my people? Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Great. Now, coming back to our heading there, ANSI string is the same as string. Again, here is the only difference. And please do not forget this. Here is the only difference. A string in C++ builder is one based. Let me write it as a comment as well. ANSI string is one based. What do I mean by that? I mean when it starts using the indexes, it starts at index 1. It no longer refers to the first character at index 0. Rather, it says this first character is sitting on index 1. Did you all get that?
Yes.
Perfecto. Now our ANSI string, if it's index 1 based, it means even when we create our for loops, remember the objective, I get it, we want to count the vowels. Remember this objective. We want to count the vowels. So if we are saying our ANSI string is 1 based, it means even our for loop has to start where? On index 1. Because if we start at index 0, we are going to get some nonsense on our screen. And that error, we refer to it as the range check error. You probably should have done this in 111, but it doesn't matter. So now, if we want to count the vowels inside a sentence, we need to be able to do what? To check character by character. And check, is this a vowel? No. Is this a vowel? Yes. And then we count. So let's go ahead and perform that task. So whenever you're supposed to either count vowels or check the number of full stops in your sentence or check the number of spaces in your sentence, you will always have to do a for loop that starts at 1. Please, guys, please do not forget this. At 1. And then let us come to this part. At this point, I'm assuming since you know the string object, you also know that it used to have some methods like size, length, add, find, those kind of methods. I get it. Even our sentence here of type ANSI string has those methods. So if we now say sentence dot, remember this is just an object of ANSI string, therefore we can do a dot, not an arrow notation. This is not a control. Again, this is not a control. Rather, this is just an object of type string. And when we deal with object, that's when we use the dot notation. So if we examine our intelligence there, it tells us that inside ANSI string class, there's a method called compare, there's a method called last character, there's a method called position. There are many of them. Even the famous C_str still there. There are many. There's also the delete. Pardon? I was not talking to me. Okay. So right now, what we want is a method that is going to tell us that there are a certain number of characters in our sentence. So in 111, you had two choices. You had a size and you also had a length. Unfortunately, this side, we are stuck with length. The size is no longer there. So with this for loop, we are saying start at index 1, go through character by character until you reach the last character. Therefore, whenever we say sentence.length, we are always referring to the last character. Therefore, it's going to be very important for us to add a equal sign there to say start from this character and loop until you are at the last character, which is determined by the length function. We are not really getting too much into the ANSI string, but it's important that you understand these basics for when you are counting vowels and other characters within a sentence. Any questions up to so far? Any questions up to so far? Any questions? Nothing. Am I still in the meeting? Okay. Any questions, guys? Nothing?
Sir. Nothing, sir. No questions, sir.
Okay. All right. So now that we are inside our for loop, what we need now is to create an if statement that checks if a certain character is either A, E, I, O, or U. Hello?
Yeah, my mic was not working, so I was busy asking, and then I didn't unmute myself.
Oh, sorry, Miss Malati. What's up?
I didn't get the part here, length.
Okay. The dot length, what is being returned here? So for example, let's say we have hello inside our sentence. Okay. So when we say sentence dot length, what it actually does, it goes to our sentence and it counts the number of characters inside this sentence variable. So the length will always return the number of characters inside our string object. So we can actually do something like int count is equals to sentence dot length. Then this will go to our sentence and it counts the characters. Okay, there are 4 or 5 or whatever number of characters. And then we store that number inside our count. Then when we come here, we just say loop from 1 up until all the characters.
Okay, now I get you.
All right. So inside our for loop, we will need a conditional statement that will check, is the first character a vowel, meaning is it A, E, I, O, U? If that's the case, then we want to count. If not, we just say continue looping. Is E a vowel? Yes, then it must say now we have one vowel. And then it must do that for each and every character until we reach the end or the last character. So our conditional statement, you can choose. You can choose to either have an if statement or you can choose to switch. So I might try to do them both, but let's start with a case. So when we try to switch here, we should always switch something that can result to an answer of one thing. For example, the thing that we are supposed to switch here should actually be what? A character. We want to switch one character at a time from our sentence. And what do we know already? Our sentence is an array of characters. Therefore, we are able to access individual characters depending on the index that we would have provided. So to break this down, I am going to include a variable called char, and then I will say single from string. Yo, that's a long name. Okay, single char. Sorry, let's stick to single correct. So whenever our loop iterates, we now say single char. We wanted to get one character from our string, and the name of our string is sentence. So we are going to say sentence, but we cannot assign. Sorry.
Sir, sorry to disturb. When you press the switch, it is the whole structure.
Oh, I just typed switch and then I press a space bar.
Or space bar.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. So now we now want to say from our sentence, please take only one character from the entire sentence and save it inside our variable called single char. But where are we supposed to get that single character? So we are supposed to go in sequence. I get it. We're supposed to start from the beginning. Yes, sir? Oh, someone had muted me. Sorry. I don't know who's playing here. Okay, so what we ultimately want to do is to say, from this sentence, please get us a single character. Now, we do not want to just randomly get a character from whatever index. We want to use our iteration variable because it's the one that is going from first, second, up until the last. So we are going to use our iterator variable called I to say initially get me a character sitting on index I. And what is I initially? I is 1. Therefore, it's going to take for us the first character, which is H, and then the H is saved inside our character called single char. So now, because in here we have one value, we can actually switch our single char to say if our single char falls in the following cases. If our single char falls in case A or case E, do you see how I'm writing my characters? Because these are characters, I should use a single code. Single code, ne? And then now I can say I, case O, and then lastly, case U. I just want to hear from you guys. If you write your cases like this without breaking, what are you actually saying? If I can just hear from you, from 111.
Sir, it's going to go through all of these cases, so it won't really give us the results that we want. It's not going to be logical. And
thank you for that, Ms. Mota. If we combine our cases like this, as long as a break statement is not encountered, all of these cases sort of become like one case. They're like one family. So don't forget that. Again, guys, if I go ahead and do this right there, and then I also do something like int count vowels equals to 0, and then I come and say count vowels is equals to count vowels plus 1. What is going to happen with this code right here? Will we actually get the number of vowels or what? Anyone?
Sir, we will not get the number of vowels because the count of vowels it's outside. It is outside our break statement.
It is outside our break statement. Remember, if a switch encounters a break, what does it do? It gets out of all the cases. It gets out of all the cases. Similarly, for when if a for loop sees a break inside, what does it do? It stops the loop from iterating. So please pay attention to this syntax, guys. You are supposed to put this statement inside your cases, and then you can therefore break. Just like that. So every time this thing loops, let's actually create a sentence that the user is going to enter. So we are going to enter, hello, this is TPG201T, and then maybe a full stop there. So let's say this is our string. Ne? How many characters are inside this string? How many characters are actually inside this string? Let me do this.
23.
23 characters.
Yes.
Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yes,
5,
yes.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Thank you. 23 characters. 23 characters. And a function that can help us to get the 23, as I've said, is length. Length. Now, guys, now I also want you to pay attention to how we also counted the spaces. Is that correct? Are we also supposed to count the spaces?
Yes.
Yes.
And if I say why, will you be able to substantiate?
The space is also a
Yes.
It's also a character, sir.
Danko. A space is also a character. That is why we are also counting it in determining the number of characters. Great. So now we start our for loop. We say from the beginning, which is 1, because we are dealing with a string. Again, we are dealing with a string. From the beginning, which is 1, please loop until you get to the length or the number of characters within our string. And each time you loop, just move one step ahead. So when we first start to loop, we now execute this statement. We are now saying sentence at index 1. Give us that character. That character is age. And then the age is stored inside single char. Now we are saying go and switch that character of ours, which is age. So we are saying, does age fall under case A or case E or whatever this case is? And then we say no. Therefore, the switch breaks. And then we go to the second iteration. The second iteration meaning I is now 2 because of this I++. I is now 2. Then we are saying go and get us the character sitting on index 2. Then we get an E. And then we switch the E. Does this E fall within one of these cases?
No.
No.
Can you say why?
It's a low. It's lowercase, and our case only considers uppercase characters.
We all agree with that explanation.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. So how can we solve this?
We must convert a.
We must include the case for lowercase, small letters.
Yeah, for lowercase, ne?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can do that. We can say case A for lowercase. Say lowercase, yes, sir. You are not wrong also, you are not wrong. If you want to give me an alternative, you are also not wrong. Yes?
Never mind, sir.
Okay, sir, I think it's another alternative.
Yeah, an alternative is also welcomed, yes?
I think maybe we should convert the sentence to uppercase and then continue with that previous logic of only having uppercases only.
Correct. So to avoid maybe writing so many cases like that, we can actually just say, you know what, let our sentence just be uppercases because our case is checking for uppercases. So to do this, you will need a method of type string. That's why I did not want to do this because we are actually getting too much into strings. But since you are coming from 111, I will assume you already know of the uppercase method. So to convert your sentence to uppercase, this is where you have to do it. You can either come again after extracting and say sentence is equals to sentence dot uppercase. You can actually do that. But again, you can also do it here. Because as soon as you start saying text property, as soon as you start saying the text property, you are now actually working with what? A string. Therefore, you can always say dot right here. And then you can choose your uppercase. So whichever method that you prefer, all of them, they do the same thing. They are correct, ne? Sentence dot uppercase. So you'll choose which one you want to work with between the two. The reason why we're able to do a dot here is because immediately after saying text, we're actually referring to a string. Therefore, on the string, we can always say uppercase. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Great. So after doing that, it means...
Sir,
yeah?
What about the one where we have to put the variable name as an argument inside the uppercase function? Is it also correct?
Yes, it's also correct. there's also a global uppercase method. So what it does is, because it's global, you can just call it like that, uppercase, and then you're going to give it the string that you want to convert to uppercase, like that. Still correct. Still correct. So you are spoiled for choice, ne? I'll also just comment this in case you are going to need it. So if our sentence is now in uppercase, it means we do not have to have the cases of lowercase. So I'll just comment that one, and then we can remain with the cases of uppercases. Is that fine with everyone?
Yes.
Now, we assume that everything in here will go and count the number of vowels for us. So after it does that, the main thing or the last thing that we want to do is to remove that text that was entered in there and replace it with the value which we obtained from our number of vowels. So we can do something like, we can display to the user the number of vowels from your sentence is, and then we write a number there or whatever. We show the user the number of vowels from the sentence that he or she would have entered. But now, instead of using a label, we want to use this t-edit. We want to use this t-edit to display that information to the user. So let's go. First, we are going to take the name of that EDT sentence, and then I can just show you another way of deleting the text inside again. So we can say EDT, let me just see if there is clear. There's a clear method, ne? Do you see this clear method? This method will do this. It will say whatever that was inside this t-edit, we want to clear it out, meaning we want to delete it out, if that makes sense. And then after deleting it, we now want to show the user this message using this EDT sentence. So I'm going to say EDT sentence, the new text is equals to the number of vowels which we obtained from our for loop and switch statement. So now, backtrack a little bit. Anything or any information that comes from the form or any information that goes to the form should be in what type? Answer string or string. Again, whatever that comes from the form is type string. Whatever that should go back to the form should be type string.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
On your code for clearing the text that is in the edit box now, is it necessary for you to use that code even if you say edit sentence text is equals to, then it's going to change the text, or is necessary for you to use the text here?
It's not necessary per se. I think I was just showing you how to actually clear text from the text box. But even this one will work again, because when you start assigning something that's new to your text property, it will overwrite the one that was already there. So it's not 100% necessary. It's just for you to know it, ne?
Okay.
All right. So now, as I was saying, any information that comes from the form comes to us in the form of a string. Therefore, any information that should return back to the form should always have the type string. But now what do we have? We have count vowels. And is count vowels a string? No, it's not a string, it's an int. So we have to change this one to become a string because it's going back to the form. Therefore, to convert your int to a string, you will always use the method int to string. It's a method that takes one parameter or one argument, like that. Therefore, count vowels will be converted to string. Therefore, it can be displayed in the T-edit. Great. So let's go ahead and try that out. Let me just increase this so that we can see all the text properly. Great. So now let's go ahead and run this and see if we meet the objective. So I'm going to enter hello. This is TPG. This is TPG201T full stop, and then display. And then that was the sentence displayed on a label, and then it says there are 4 vowels. I do not know why I did not enter this. Let's bring this back so that we can see a descriptive output. So we are going to say the number of vowels from your sentence is, and then we concatenate. Can I bring this below? Yes. And then we concatenate our number of vowels. So let's try that again. Hello. This is TPG01T, and then display. And then the number of is 4, ne? I think I have to drag that again, but it's fine. We get 4. Let me just zoom in for those who can see. We get 4. Indeed, are they 4 vowels? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that correct? Is this not a vowel? Is that not a vowel? This one.
It's a number.
Okay. So that's it. That's it with a T-edit. Maybe you may want to see the on change event. Maybe the on exit, since is there in practice 1 and you may want to attempt practice 1. So let's go back to the T-edit. Let's make an on exit event, and then let me show you when does it execute. So I'm going to double click inside this box. I'm going to double click inside this box to create an event, and then I'm just going to update my label. Label, I forgot, display sentence caption is equals to whatever that we will be writing inside this T-edit. So I'll just say the text. So you'll see what happens to the label on exit, on exit. So let's see. Start up. Now, before I do anything, I want you guys to notice something. Do you see this box that it has a border color of blue?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
this blue means that this is the control that is being focused on, meaning this is the current active control on the form. It is blue. I get it. You'll see if maybe I press the button, the focus moved to the button. Yeah? So let's start typing something in here. Let's say hello, how are you? Now, when we go out of this T-edit, I can just probably click anywhere because it will mean I am exiting the control, meaning the focus is no longer on this box. So when I click, what else can I click? There's nothing I can click except for a button. I actually wanted you guys to see it. Okay, let's quickly do this. Edit, copy, paste. Yeah, let's just do that for now. I want you guys to see there exit event. Whatever. So if I leave this box, by leaving I mean I am exiting and then I'm moving to another box. So as soon as I do this code in here executes. This code in here executes. That is the exit event. When the user has finished typing and then now wants to move to somewhere else, it means the focus is no longer on this box. It will be on another control. Therefore, the user has exited that control. Is that okay with everyone? The on exit. It executes when we leave this control. When this control is no longer blue, like that, then the on exit event executes. And then lastly we have the on change. I think it's also important to show you this on change. This is the one which I've illustrated, the one here search bar. So even here, I'll just update my label to say whenever a new text comes inside this box, it causes a change. I get it. Now, whenever that text comes, we want to send it to the caption. Sentence text. And then let's quickly run this on change event. So you'll see, as soon as I start doing something in here, like L, you see, because text is changing within this box, therefore it executes this code. It's change. Even when I delete, my label gets updated. It's the change. The change in text. Is that fine for everyone?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wonderful. Great. If that is understandable to everyone, then that brings me to the end of this simple catch-up 2, where we were actually focusing on the T-edit as well as a label. Any questions?
Sir, I don't know if I joined the meeting late, but I wanted to ask maybe if we were having a list box or a what do you call, or a spin. So like when you put cursor, let's say we put cursor on our number, then it shows up on a label. How does that happen? We use on chain event or we use other event?
Which control is it? List box?
Yeah, maybe we're using list box.
And then you are saying when you select something in a list box, it must display somewhere else.
Just to place your cursor there. Yeah.
Or on mouse. Okay.
Yeah.
It's this event, ne? It must be something regarding mouse. On mouse down. I don't know what these events does. Let's test them out. On mouse activate. No, we do not want to activate. On mouse move. Sure. On mouse move. And then there it brings us some arguments there, X and Y. Okay. I'm just going to show a message here. I don't know when this will execute. So let's see on mouse move. You see, okay, whenever I move my mouse, the event fires. Whenever I move my mouse on the form, okay, not on the form, probably on this T-edit. So if I move my mouse on the T-edit, it shoots the event. Can you see?
Yes.
So this is the event that you are looking for on mouse move.
Okay.
On mouse move, yeah. Any questions, others? Any questions, guys? Okay, no questions. So I'm going to stop the recording.